Okay, so we're gonna do something a bit different. I was trying to stream this, but my bitrate was going to shit. So instead, I'm just gonna actually record this. Hopefully everything comes out right. All my settings should be good. So naturally, it's gonna be complete shit. Um, Output. Well, no idea. We'll find out if it's any good or not. Um, but let's go ahead and just get into this and test it out. So today we're playing Flight Simulator, or Lunar Flight, not Flight Simulator. So Lunar Flight, you basically are controlling a lunar lander. You'll do various missions on a few different bodies. Um, if you look at my stats, this is so I basically played it for a bit, learned all the controls, and now we can start fresh on the most difficult map, the Mars map. We're just gonna be chilling on Mars. Should be good. This will be much harder than. So here's the different maps we have, but Mars is going to be the hardest. It has an increased gravity, so it's going to be much harder. Go into my options. So while I was playing it solo, I had unlimited fuel turned on, which is just an amazing way to learn how to play it, because you don't have to worry about your thrust. It lets you, really get the controls down and not have to stress so much about, oh god, how much thrust are we burning, while you're just trying to learn what all of the different controls are. So this is a simulator, so it is pretty technical to get into. We have accurate landings and financial penalties on, so overall it should be pretty good. And hopefully I can make this a bit entertaining. So Lunar Flight was one of the first VR titles I got to experience. It was probably one of my favorites because of how well it just worked, and the fact that it actually, this has been a long-standing game for a while, and it just translated very well to VR. So here's the default view. You can see there's a lot of different options. This is probably how it was first developed. So what's cool is you have two windows, right? Then you have a display showing your velocity and trajectories. You can adjust this quite a bit to show all the different deals. We have a top-down view, map deal, which, as you can see, we have over here on the left corner. Where are we at? Our nav point showing us literally our distance to target, sort of like this map view, but a little bit more detailed. And then our velocity camera, which is basically what this does, just again a little easier to read. And movement speed, I'm guessing. I'm gonna just call that your total velocity. Over here you have your altimeter, I guess. So this shows you if you're going up or down and how fast you're going up or down. Here you have all the different views. I actually like this one right here. It's just the easiest for getting into the game because you can see how your lander is, which way you're tilting, how much you're tilting. It's very visual. Should be a quick way I can get into the cockpit. There we go. So this is the cockpit view. Again, with only the two small windows, this would be the most realistic for what you'd actually be looking at while flying. And I love the side panel here. You see, we can sort of quickly switch between all these different windows and different systems, so you can check out what your level upgrades are at, what kind of technology you're working with. Your LOPTW, or LOPT, I have no idea. It's your lift-off power to weight ratio. So what you can see is how much thrust you have to do any maneuvering. This is, again, it looks so simple because it's just a simple chart, but it tells you, it helps you figure out how much fuel you're using. You can see your velocity goes up and down, burning fuel. So what makes Mars so difficult is we have very low thruster levels that'll burn up a ton of fuel. So on my last one with unlimited fuel, it didn't matter which missions I could take. I could just jump into like the 8,000 pound cargoes right off the bat. But if you look here, at level 0 for our systems, right? Everything's level 0. We're starting brand new. We can barely lift 1,000 kilograms and make it off, or I guess pounds, right? Powered. I'll just say whatever. So we're very limited in how much cargo we can take. So the base is just us floating around with no cargo. And 1,000, 2,000, yeah, it's going to be really tough. And if you look at the map, our destination points, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, are all pretty far apart. So without any further ado, you can see we have some wind blowing. And again, I'm probably just going to play like this so you can get the most view out of it. I'm tempted to do it like this though, just because of how much more information you can actually get out of this view. But anyways, let's go into the missions and we'll pick a good one. So again, transport 8, so the first one is going to be a transport 8,000 cargo. Again, we can't even move 4,000 cargo. So I'm going to actually look for like some of the data surveys, I think, would be the best to start with. Lost cargo. We can get to the cargo, but we can't actually move it. We could do this. You know what? Let's just do this. Okay, so this is a mission, a transport mission. We have 6 total that we could choose from. That is pretty much reset after every mission, so you can usually find some new ones right away. So it just wants us to take 1,000 cargo to the Delta hub for 2,500 and 250 pilot experience. You can see up here we start off with some money, which we're actually going to use. Okay, we can't buy any of the upgrades, but we can buy items. And probably what's going to be the most important for us would be fuel. I'm going to get 1 booster and 2 fuel. So now we have a few different items. So basically we can activate some NOS for a little bit if we're really struggling with the weight. And then the fuel, because we're going to be running out of fuel quite a bit until we can upgrade our thrusters, which should take several missions to get up to that level. So let's close the shop. Our fuel, we can just refill real quick. It costs us a little bit of money, but not much at the start before we've even done anything. Did we accept the mission? Let's go ahead and accept. You can see it. We can click this button to set our nav point automatically, or we can just say, okay, we're going to Delta. And we can do this all in game, where we can just go and maneuver, cycle between all the different data points. And now we have our deals. We're having to go 1,500 meters, or about 1.5 kilometers, to get to nav point Delta. If you look at the map, you can see what our trajectory will look like. I'm guessing these greenish areas are representing cliffs. So there will probably be a cliff we have to climb up onto. And without further ado, let's go ahead and just do it. So when you're first starting off, you're tempted to use your RCS thrusters, these little white clouds, which are usually just designed for like maneuvering the ship. And then we have a big thruster on the bottom. When you're first starting off, any kind of tilting that you do is very hard to recover from. Um, but because so I highly recommend just learning how to do it with just RCS. You can set your thruster to help you maintain height or altitude. Here we have the same sort of thing. We have our different displays. I'm just probably going to leave it on the velocity for the most part. That's to our destination map. And you can see we can sort of like adjust these on the fly, so we could be like looking up like our cargo weight. Then we can go into, actually let's just do this right now. So we're checking our cargo. We're moving 1,000 weight. I'm assuming it's kilograms, not grams, but honestly, who knows? We can check. Honestly, I have no idea. We'll just call it weight, because that would be a lot of kilograms. So then we check our loft. So in order to move it, in order to maintain our altitude at any given point, we have to use up 90 fuel. So that means we're basically barely going to be able to take off. We're barely going to... We're going to be struggling. It's why we got these extra fuel canisters. It's because that fuel is going to burn quick. So without further ado, so we have to maintain 90 to do this. That's going to be almost full power, 100 being our max. And you can see we're barely getting liftoff, but we are getting liftoff. If you look down here at the velocity camera, you can see our deal is rising very slowly. But we are gaining some momentum. Wind is blowing against us. This is going to be a really tough mission. I'm not even sure we could do this. Oh gosh. What I'm doing right now is you can't really see it, but I'm holding back on the forward RCS to kind of give us a little bit more height as we're gaining velocity. And this is bad. I mean, once we get some velocity going, it shouldn't be too bad, but oh my gosh, we're just gonna crash and burn. I don't think we have enough fuel to make it. Look at that, we're... Okay, let's just use the RCS to give us forward, and we need to maintain as much upward momentum as we can get. You can see in the bottom left we're barely maneuvering. Okay, there goes our first fuel tank. Let's see how much fuel we get after we run out. So I'm basically going to wait until it's completely down. But we're basically not going to... Well, let's find out. Okay, so there goes our fuel tank. How much did that give us? Okay, there it is, there it is. Okay, so I'm assuming it gave us about 500. Oh, now we have a new problem. Now the wind's blowing with us. Sorta. So we're going to have to... This is going to be so bad. We have to get over this mountain. and we're not going to be able to stop. Okay, there goes our second fuel canister. We're about halfway up, but
35 more seconds. We'll be out of boat here.
I don't think we're gonna make it. We're just... Oh my gosh. The next problem we're going to have is we're going to have to actually stop the vehicle. Yeah, we just aren't going to have enough. Well, this is going to suck. Okay. Now the wind's blowing for us. And we're out of fuel. Okay, so very hard start to... Oh gosh, and we're gonna crash because we're falling too fast and we can't stop. So, we destroyed our lander on Mars. You are unable to complete your active mission. You don't say. Okay, oh yes, let's save that replay. Okay, that mission was a bust. Note to self. All fuel. Okay, so our first mission on Mars, complete clusterfuck. Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at what other missions we can do. So that first one was a bust, but maybe we can do some close by survey deals. So we have 2 different data surveys, and looking at the range bonus, both of them seem pretty far. So what we're going to have to do is... I guess we'll accept one. Acquire data at the survey location for 5,000 and 2,500 pilot XP range bonus. Okay, so note we aren't carrying any cargo. So now we're going to use 85 as our power threshold for maintaining. And again, last time we were just straight up holding 100, trying to get as much as we could. But now we have a little more leeway. We got an extra fuel. You know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should have gotten the boost and used it right at the start. Hard to say. Okay, so we have our mission. Let's see where we're going. So our map is right over there. So we're just gonna go again, sort of more left this time, and just try and get there and then get back, or to Delta if it's closer. The wind is blowing with us. We have our mission. So again, okay, let's just do it. So again, not using the... Okay, so we're definitely moving a lot easier this time. And this time we're just kind of hopefully just gonna let this carry us through. Our velocity is negative, looking at the right here. We're slowly building it back up, but we're gonna need to start lowering it. So our power threshold is 85. So now we can just sort of maintain. There we go. So now we aren't gaining or losing height, or at least not more than what we were currently at. Right? Okay, but we still are using a lot of fuel. We're just relying on the wind sort of to carry us. Okay, the wind is changing. If we use our RCS, we can turn. And we have a good ways to go. Let's go ahead and kill off the automated. We'll use as much fuel as we can just to give us some momentum. And then hopefully not die or not tilt too much. So we switched the camera so we could see the target in the area. Let's just go back. Okay, we're gaining altitude. Switch back to our velocity camera. Out of fuel 1. The wind is picking up again. So I'm not sure if I'm doing this the best optimal way, because basically you want to get as much momentum as you can get and then just kind of coast on it. Whereas I'm burning a lot of fuel just maintaining velocity, or just maintaining altitude. Oh, we're gonna crash, aren't we? Okay, so we lost fuel at a pretty inopportune time. Oh, interesting. Okay, so if you don't like the cockpit, this is an alternative first-person view. So we're right at at the coordinations, I don't think we can get our transponder is on. I'm guessing it's directly above us. So for instance, if we just hold our velocity and we're going hopefully straight up, I'm assuming that there's a good possibility that the target marker is going to be just above us. So I'm sort of getting some height and looking around. And we used up both of our fuel tanks, and I don't see it at all. There it is, there it is. Okay, okay. Dang it, we were so close and we used up so much fuel just to see where the stupid thing is. Oh, this. What sucks the worst is I know we've already failed because we can get the data now, but we don't have enough to make it back. Fuel, that is. And we took damage. And here's the worst part. In order to successfully acquire the data, we have to hover in the circle right above us. And we're not going to be able to do it. And there we go, another failed mission. So this is turning out really great. I want to test one last deal. I just want to. I think we sold too much money. Okay, there we go. Let's try one last mission, and then I think I'll call it here. Maybe I'll switch over and show you what my other mission, my other deal is like. My other ship, and how much better that handles. You know what we could do as well is just turn on unlimited fuel. That way we don't. That way we'll actually be able to complete any mission we pick up, even if it's a difficult one. So I'm looking for data surveys. Range bonus 1250. Range bonus 1500. So I guess we'll pick up this one. We'll select it as our nav. We'll take a look. So, okay, so it's due west of us. And now let's see what happens if we activate the boost right off the bat. So note we have unlimited fuel, so there's going to be no reason we will need to use the other ones. So we should have this pretty well. Our velocity is up to about 7, which is pretty solid. Let's do some rotating. So again, ideal, the gravity is so tough on this planet, plus the wind storms. You just don't get wind on the moon mission. Plus that you have less visibility because you're flying in a dust storm a lot of the time. Okay, cleared the mountain. Uh-oh. We flew too far. I only realized it because I was looking at the map. But if we go off the edge there, it's basically game over. Come on. No! Out of bounds. Oh, I didn't even... We're doing great. We're doing really great. Give me one, please. Just one data survey. I just want to complete one mission here. Okay. Okay, looks like we're clearing the mountain. Note, you see how we still have 1.45 of vertical acceleration? So even if I lower that to 85, it's not like that instantly goes away. It starts lowering because of whatever is pushing against us. That's outside of just gravity. Because according to our log, we should be in the clear, to maintain. And this worked out perfectly on the lunar colony, on the lunar maps. But as you can see here, it's having an interesting effect of going down to 0 as it gets closer to that 85. Usually if we're pitching, right, so then our velocity isn't all directly pointed at the bottom. Which you could calculate as a reduced, which would account for reduced velocity. But let me switch to this. So if you look at our pitch, we're pointed up. There we go. So, come on. We almost had it. Perfect. Okay, so our pitch should be about 0 now. Also, Our fuel is unlimited. We're getting closer. Our power is a little bit low, but it's holding good. There's our destination right down there. I've just got to do one of these missions. Oh gosh. So here's something scary about Mars. Because it has increased gravity, and we have the lowest thruster right now to start with, you can see that it takes a while to do any sort of corrections. So you got to be a little careful about. This is the main benefit of using the loft, is you can control the rate of deceleration and everything. So as it gets to a good ratio, usually around 0.5 is pretty solid for maintaining, for lowering safely. If a little excessive on fuel. There we go. So now we can switch it back to like 85 and we don't have to worry about it. I'm actually going to turn off the power lock, let that go, just so we accelerate a little quicker. And you can see this is the main issue, is you just use up a lot of energy making any kind of corrections. Okay, there's our destination. We're so close to it. It looks like our deal is pointed right at it. So if we maintain this, we should fall right into it. I kind of want to cancel out my left movement. We're almost right to it. Okay, we're gathering the data. Got it. Now we just have to not die. It's so close. Okay. Let's just land for a second. Just for a second. I just want to make sure our mission, return to base Alpha with the data. So now we have to make our way back. So let's go ahead. We'll start the turn. Maybe it's because we're actually on a planet with atmosphere. But on the moon, you didn't really have to deal with atmosphere. You know, your main forces were gravity and whatnot. Sorry. But here we're having to deal with a little bit more. So atmosphere, gravity, wind, and it's definitely much more of a challenge. Plus, starting over from scratch just makes this so much harder. Okay, but now we just cruise on back. We have some extra power that we're not using. Okay, let's see. Are we going to clear this? Yeah. I mean, we have the velocity cam to sort of show us which way we're actually going. Okay, we cleared it. Also, something I never really pointed out, because it's very dim in the background for me, is you can actually hear the radio broadcasts, from like legit missions. So like you can actually hear astronauts sort of bullshitting as they go through all their different checks, and like not dying. sort of the stuff you'd actually expect astronaut transmissions to sound like. They don't have very many, so it cycles quite a bit. And I sort of stopped paying attention once I, realized that. But I do like pointing it out since it is there. I can't see anything. Luckily, I still have my sensors, so I'm not too worried about it totally screwing up. We can see what our velocity is looking like. We can see on the map if we're coming up to any like mountains or anything. We're sort of heading towards our destination. In fact, there's the red beacon for the lighthouse of it. Very useful. Let's reduce our yield down to 85. And now we'll start canceling out as much velocity as we can. We may need to do a retro thrust where we legit just sacrifice all of our velocity, all of our height for a second. If our RCS thrusters aren't able to cope. But you can see from the front of our ship, our little RCS are just constantly pushing back, trying to stall us out on that. We should be lowering here, not gaining height. So it looks like our actual loft is about, I'm looking for where this finally like stalls out. It looks like about 80 is our legit power to weight ratio. So I'm guessing that chart is a little off. Not too bad, but okay. Good. And we should be falling pretty close to where we want to be. Looking at this, we're just falling down, and the main thing is making sure that we don't fall too rapidly, that we just outright crash. Okay, here we go. Okay, so you see the navigation switched. That tells us that we're in landing proximity of a platform. Make sure our pitch isn't messing up. Here we go. Good. And touchdown. Mission accomplished. Next we can go here. We've returned to base alpha with the data. We're uploading the data. Mission accomplished. All it took was a few cheats, unlimited fuel, and we did it. Duration is a lot. Let's go ahead and save that, sure. You have been promoted to rank cadet. So our experience for that is huge, 3,000 experience. Our credit payout was huge. Bonus XP, skill XP bonus. Not bad. So now we close out of that. And now we have money. Now we can go into the shop, if I'm not mistaken. We're now ranked cadet, so we can actually buy stuff if we have enough cash for it. So for instance, Fuel efficiency is huge. Thrust is absolutely critical. That used up most of our money. With the last items, you could buy something like the booster. Booster might be the most critical for Mars, considering how hard it is to cancel out your velocity. The gyro is great if you're brand new, but if you're brand new, you shouldn't be on Mars anyway, and shouldn't need the booster. Fuel and the gyro would be my recommendations for new players. It basically cancels out any spin your ship has, which now that we actually have some loft, let's see, we have 65 as our base, and we can move. We could probably actually turn off the fuel and accomplish a mission. It would be so stressful again, but let's see what we can do now. So if I go into options, we can turn off unlimited fuel options. And let's see if we can even accomplish a mission now. 1000 to Delta. Let's retry this. Okay, so basically we've got our mission. We have 1000 weight to move to Delta, and all we have to do is get there in one piece. So what we're going to do real quick is we'll start taking off. We'll angle our ship a bit backwards, turn the camera around, and then we'll activate that booster to get us going. And if I'm not mistaken, we should be pointed the correct direction. I'm gonna do more of the ship turning because in this mode the camera's set to follow. But you can see we're getting much more momentum, and we're just able to move much more fluid even with some weight. There we go. We've used up about half of our fuel tank. Luckily we do have 2 backup fuel canisters, so I think we're actually going at a good rate at this time. So let me think. So it said it was 65 for my loft, 70 being with weight. So we can cancel out a lot of our height gain at this point since we're cleared the mountains. And now we just need to coast to our objective as smoothly as possible. Using up first fuel canister right now. And we need to adjust the angle to... Ideally we'd get low and left at this point. So by angling it just a little bit, we should start falling in towards our objective. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, you can see it right there. And we should just be falling right to it. Okay, we need to cancel out as much momentum as we can. One thing you can do is by pointing your ship, tilting your ship like that, you can cancel out much more momentum than you'd normally be able to as far as directional velocity. The bottom thruster is much more powerful than your RCS thrusters. And I can't see the landing field, but we should be just about on top of it. There it is to the right. Come on, we got this. Okay. An actual thruster like this would damage any equipment or base platforms. I mean, it's basically a rocket. It looks like we're shooting out of the bottom. That could probably do some damage to solar panels and anything else. Come on. I think we've got this. I think we have just enough fuel to actually make it. Please. Oh, wind. Oh, the wind kind of screwed us. The wind was pushing us backwards right as we were about to make it. Ugh. Whew. But we did it. Now we can go to our cargo. We can either click unload or we can just unload it with the hotkeys. Bam. That's one of the reasons for the booster is being the best item, is because you can go much faster towards your destination and then activate the booster if your current power is low to cancel out your momentum. But again, for new players, you just want to focus on having a gyro and probably fuel, and do the easy missions or the easier maps of the lunar missions. Mars is definitely advanced. But we got paid. We got even a range credit bonus, so we got about 6,000 credits, 1,000 more XP, and we accomplished our mission. We can refuel, and look at that fuel expenses. Ugh, so painful, so necessary. Then we can go into the shop. I don't think we can afford any of these. We can afford one more. Nope, we can't get the level 2 because we have to be ranked up high enough to get them. But we could get the fuel upgrade, which means every point of fuel does that much more for us. I'd like to get the RCS because it's so powerful. Stabilizer, I'm not too worried about. But next we'll go in and buy some items. Let's see, can we afford 2 and a fuel? Let's see if we can do a mission like this. So we did get 30% fuel upgrade. Note, you could just view the fuel tank as a 50% upgrade. So if you compare it to the last mission, we're underfueled according to the what we would have needed to do the last mission. My hope is that the boost canister can sort of make up for that. So what I said was going to be my last deal. Now we've actually are able to accomplish some of these. I'm looking for a transport. There we go. Transport to Bravo, 2,500. Let's go ahead and accept. I want to see what the map looks like. Okay, so Bravo is about as far from us as possible. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to set Alpha as my destination. And then make sure I have the cargo lopped. It's looking good. And so what I'm going to do now is, my actual goal this time isn't to just make it to Bravo in one trip, because it's so far away. I actually want to just Oh gosh, am I gonna crash into something? Whew. That looked close. Okay, there we go. So we're over the first one. Let's activate the booster. Gain as much momentum as we can right off the bat. I wonder if the higher we get, the stronger winds we face. Let's activate booster number 2. Note, we have a lot of velocity at this point, and but we are going directly against the wind. Activate that fuel, our last fuel tank, our last item, fuel tank. What's my destination? This is going to be so tight, and it's, you know, like the only benefit that we're going to get is we're going to land at A specifically so we can get fuel. Come on. Just have to make it over this last cliff. Got it. We have plenty of fuel for the docking. Come on. Our RCS just isn't quite up to stopping us fast. So we're losing a lot of fuel just stopping our craft. There we go. Note we have accurate landings on, so we have to land right in the middle of it. Now we can refuel for about all of our leftover funds. Got it. We unlocked an achievement, which lets us buy one more fuel tank. Should I buy one more? Yeah, that'll ensure that we make it safely. Now we just have to get to Bravo and to finish the mission. Okay, but if you look at what's ahead of us, we have a lot of mountains we have to climb over. So it's a little tough, but we should be doable. I'm guessing the mountain is acting as sort of a wind barrier for us, making this a little more doable. How's our velocity? Man, the wind is so messing with us. Okay, and we should have it. I'm guessing I'll have to use up one more fuel to get there, so I'm just going to do that now. Basically, if we are under 500, it'll be interesting to know that we would have failed this mission. Okay, where's the landing pad? Man, that would have been so close, but it looks like we're gonna do it. Maybe. Come on. Look at that. We would have just barely failed. But a failure is still a failure. Whew. Unload, refuel. There goes all of the monies. No close. Man, talk about crazy. Buy a fuel, buy a boost. Can we afford the better RCS? At 10,000 does not look like it. So yeah, so this is Lunar Flight. So basically, you carry out missions like this. I didn't show off the lost cargo, just because our ship can't really handle it. But it's a lot of fun just flying around this lunar lander deal, completing some missions, getting better upgrades. I sort of showed this off, but if you take a look, you can see there are like drones and stuff flying around that you can fight against. It's multiplayer, so you can always fight against other people if you can find them. It's a really old game, so I doubt anyone's still playing it. But, I mean, it's just a little nice, relaxing, fun game where you can fly around a lunar spaceship, basically. Anything else I want to say? No. I basically went over a lot of the different features of the game. I did mention that it does work for VR. At least it worked for the Oculus DK1, which was really cool and why I first got this game. But it's just a nice little, relaxing little deal. sort of like a trucker in space, flying a lunar lander that, you know, as you upgrade its different capabilities, like level 3, you're basically godlike. Um, but it works out, it's fun. The lunar missions in particular are more enjoyable. Mars, you have so many different things you're struggling against that it can sort of feel like you're more just fighting the controls than, which is, you know, just you fighting the planet, really, compared to the lunar missions, which, you know what, I think I could show real quick just how much different these are as one last little deal before cutting off. So you saw how difficult it was on Mars, but, you know, once we got that first thrust upgrade, it was so much more doable. Let's just go to, like, one of the lunar missions real quick. In fact, I'll just go to the easy one, the one that most people should start on. So let's go in, single player. So, again, you can see there are 4 different maps. Canyons, because you have to worry about how your velocity maintains. Mars is just hard for so many different deals. Canyons, you know, you actually have to make sure you aren't going to crash into something. Hills could probably be a little challenging for going distances and landing in fields. And the crater is basically just, you know, like, it's like we set up a moon base inside of a crater. So I'm just going to load into map 1 to show you how different it is doing any of these. First thing I want to point out is I should pull up the systems. So again, this is still the same ship with the level 1 upgrades. Your upgrades do transfer on your account or on your profile. So if I had started on one of these maps, I could still take my ship to Mars after I got the upgrades. You can see all the base requirements are so much lower for just traveling around. Whereas it was like 60 even with the level 1 upgrades. It's level 27, and it says we can do basically any amount of weight. So I think now's a good chance to show off one of the lost cargo missions. South of Delta, northwest of Bravo. We're actually at Bravo, so I think let's go ahead and grab that. So we just have to go a short way. So note, we don't have any navigation markers right now. The only thing it says is northwest of Bravo. So that's anywhere between Alpha and Bravo where we're currently at. So we're just going to fly around a little bit, see if we can't spot the item, the cargo, land and retrieve the cargo, and then try and make our way back. So anywhere over here could be our cargo. And I'm guessing it's probably going to be over that hill. Note, you see that shadow? That's a drone target. So if you look where we've actually got a drone flying above us, I'm not too concerned. I'm more concerned why my fuel is floating. But again, we don't have an atmosphere here. So you'll sort of just kind of drift with the only opposing force being gravity. So it does make everything a lot simpler and just a lot more stable. Oh, there we go. There's our cargo. So if you hear that beeping noise, that's actually our transponder going off. And it basically is like playing hot and cold. Basically go to where it says and then try and find the different items. Okay, so now we just have to land right next to it, or reasonably close. Come on.
It's a little more chamber pressure than they were predicting. So they shut down a motor.
Land. Then we hit our backspace to retrieve the cargo. Recovering. 25 points for recovery of a lost cargo. Cool. Okay, so here's the main issue with the lost cargo. I've never seen it not weigh 8,000. So looking at that, that means we have to maintain 42.5 to maintain altitude. And then we can also look at the cargo and see where its destination is. So it's supposed to go to Delta. So let's go ahead in here and we'll set Delta as our destination now. We should still have plenty of fuel to make that trip. So let's just go for it. So again, get our deals in order. Make sure we're not going crazy. Pretty sure that's Delta right there. Having some trouble with the RCS. And we just kind of float along. Let's go ahead and activate that. This is such a bad idea, but let's do it. Activate that booster. Give us all that thrust. God damn. So here's the problem, is once you start tilting, it's kind of hard to regain control. And then you have to counteract any thrust you have. And you can see we've already overshot our target. So this is sort of like our, not the worst case scenario. We have fuel tanks, we have a lot of control right now, but we're moving a ton of weight that isn't easy to manage, right? So something I should have considered is just how much cargo we're actually carrying and how much that extra mass really kind of affects your ship. So, it's much harder for your RCS to adjust your ship, to regain control of it. One of the first things you'll notice when you pick on a harder difficulty mission is what normally feels rather fluid suddenly starts feeling sluggish and hard to manage. And you can see, we were just over here and we just flew this little ways, but we overshot our target by so much. Really shouldn't have activated that boost, but I wanted to, just sort of to create this very predicament, honestly. Show how hard it is to stop when you want to go somewhere, and yet how much fuel it takes to gradually crease in and land perfectly. I think I'll do one more transport mission just to show that very fact of how I first started playing the game. And again, it's always one more mission, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Bam. Start refueling, unloading cargo. Mission accomplished. And huge fatty payout for this one. Because, it was so much cargo at such a value, we got a lot more value for it. So that gives us a chance to buy the level 1 RCS. And then I'm gonna actually buy a gyro this time, just to kind of show off that. Can I avoid the... Cool. Okay, so let's say you're first starting out, you're not quite sure how the controls work, maybe seen a little bit. Let's go ahead and get into how this works for most people, or for most starting out. So you find a very light cargo mission, relatively close distance, you set your navigation to it. You're like, okay, where am I going? Okay, so I just have to fly directly across, right? One of the things you can do is sort of angle yourself, less things you have to worry about while flying, the better. Okay, so note it's not the one in the middle, it's the opposite side over there. So we're sort of angled down. We can get that extra 3% fuel since we're here, and now we're ready to go. So the first thing I'm going to do is start taking off and start using RCS and pitch to kind of create this forward momentum, right? You can see we're building up rapidly, we're going along. Okay, we've got a fair bit of momentum, and note we're not really going to lose it, except because gravity is the only thing we're fighting against. So now we're on our way. We've got our destination. We can see our velocity. Oop! I accidentally hit Q. That's okay. We can stop that one thing at a time. One thing I can check. So we're running at about 29 is our threshold. So if I... Oh gosh. So I can use the caps lock to control how that goes and how rapidly that deals. No, this is more designed for controllers, where the controller is basically you hold it all the way down, it's 100%. You hold it partial the way down, it's 50%. And it's much easier to lock it in place. You can do it with the keyboard, but you can see it kind of maneuvers slow. So, it's good to have it it's more of a fine-tuned control. And you can see because it's using much less fuel than just full on 100%. So it's really optimal for coming in nice and gradual. So we started off, we used a big engine to give us a nice large amount of thrust. Then we kind of corrected ourselves off of that thrust, and after making our way, we found a nice gradual descent pattern. We are falling a little fast, so let's actually up that a bit. Note we're carrying how much cargo? 1,000. So it says we need 30 to maintain. So now we're over 30. Our velocity time amount is thinning. I'm actually going to zero it out just without using the thrust control. And then let's lower it back. That should be good. We're still descending, but note that our velocity or altitude isn't changing the rate at which we're falling. Not compared to how it was flicking on Mars while maintaining this. So we can sort of lower our thrust output a bit, so we start gradually descending a bit faster. Then just bring it right back up, so that stops so it stops the rate at which we're falling, not the rate of change at which we're falling, not the rate at which we're actually falling. And we can use our thrusters, come in nice and gradually, and you can see that took like 150 fuel just to gradually land in nice and smooth like that. But I mean, that's sort of what you want when you're first learning, is nice, smooth, controlled movements, unload, refuel. We maintained all of our items because we finally have enough upgrades. So taking a look at our systems, we have all the level 1 systems, we had full items. Note, but it's very doable even with the base deal. I definitely would recommend always having fuel. Now would be an interesting time to show you what the gyro does. We've completed our last mission and we currently don't have one. So suppose we start tilting like this, right? But then, oh gosh, we screwed up. We're in an uncontrolled deal. We're never going to be able to correct out of this. What are we going to do? We're basically at a loss for how to manage this. This is where the gyro comes in. You basically activate it, and it stalls out all of your momentum. So now we can gradually bring it back under control. Nice and smooth. Note, when you're in a free spin like that, your first instinct is going to be to freak out because, oh my gosh, you're spinning out of control. It's important to just, maintain, keep your sense of where gravity is, where's down, where's up. You can use your booster to, even in an uncontrolled spin like that, right? You can't really use RCS as much because you're usually very confused. But it's pretty simple to maintain which way is down and sort of keep your thruster activated when it's pointing any way down. You can sort of still maintain. So when you're in an uncontrolled spin like this, the first thing is going to be to get a sense of normalcy, right? Okay, so we're not falling to our death. We're maintaining ourselves. Now let's sort of figure out, okay, we're sort of spinning forward, so let's push, or back, yeah, actually forward. So let's actually use this backward to sort of correct that a little bit. Now we're spinning more right, so let's use our left thrusters to... Oh gosh, I think I actually sped it up. Okay, so obviously that wasn't the right way. Then let's go the opposite direction. Hey look, we're slowing down, that's fine. Let's give it one more spin. And now we should be able to correct. Right? So this is how you do this manually. You basically figure out which way is down, then take one angle at a time, correct, make sure you aren't going to crash into anything. You do have the gyro option if you have one available, which will stop all spin. As you saw there, it stopped our spin, but it stopped us upside down. Now would be a good time to take a look at the map and figure out where we're at. So note, we could try and go all the way back to Alpha, but in this case, we're actually just going to move our marker over to Charlie. Note, you can also do it like adjust it with these buttons. Now we're following. Also note, this is the F2 view mode. F1, F2, F3, F4 might be the most useful depending on the size of your monitor, just because it gives you so much information in every single window. So for instance, like I can see right there my thrust, very nice and easy. You can see where all of my cameras are, but you can see in this mode it's hard to figure out which way your ship is pointing. So, like, figuring out how to regain control of your ship can be much harder in this mode. Also note you have a camera here, and then an actual window port here. And it looks like we're about to crash, so I'm gonna switch back to this view, go third person on it. And, okay, so note north, and then our destination, how close we are to it. That includes vertical height. So, again, we don't really have an altimeter in this view, but you can sort of get a sense of where you're at. If you look here, you can see how high you are. And then here you can get a good sense of where you're actually pointing. Note, with this follow camera mode, the downside is you actually have to turn your vehicle, which uses up thrust to gain a sense of, where your target is. It's much harder to gain some correction without just physically turning your ship. But that was us again diving into Lunar Flight and having some fun. Again, there's not much to the game as far as like progression wise. I mean, the whole progression is you do a lot of missions so you can buy the level 3 upgrades and have fun. I will say one thing I didn't point out are these trials. We could probably no, I'm just gonna skip it. Those are fun, but I don't really feel need to go through it. Basically, you fly through. It's like a ring flying through deal. So the idea is there's an obstacle course where you have to maneuver along and hit all of the rings as you fly through this time trial. So it's sort of an end game deal where you can see how if you actually have a lot of control over your ship. But that was Lunar Flight. I had some fun playing it. Again, you can sort of get lost in it, just listening to the music, listening to the people talking. Very enjoyable. Is there anything else left to go over? I mean, I covered way too much, but I had fun doing it. So that's Lunar Flight. And that's just, nice, simple, based missions. Nothing too complex, but it's also a pretty cheap game from what I remember. I have no idea if it has sales or anything going on, but nice, cool little flight game. Okay, people. Until next time, peace.